All right, for today's lesson, we're going to be looking at our Foss Science Stories booklet on water. And I'm going to ask you to please open it up to page 8. Okay, page 8 is a story called Ice is Everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to read the story aloud and then we're going to go through and answer questions. So pay attention. All right, ice is everywhere. Water changes from liquid to solid at 0 degrees or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 0 degrees Celsius. If temperature drops to 0 degrees Celsius or lower, water becomes ice. In many areas, temperature change with the seasons, winter, snow, and ice. In the United States, northern areas such as New York, Illinois, and North Dakota have seasonal snow. Places such as Syracuse, New York, may have 2.8 meters or 9.2 feet of snow a year. Some places are cold all year long. In the north, parts of Alaska, Greenland, Iceland, and Canada have ice year-round. But Antarctica, covering the South Pole, is the coldest continent. More than 95% of its land lies under ice. This ice cover is very thick. In some places, it can be 4,300 meters or 14,200 feet thick. In the winter, frozen seawater around Antarctica doubles the continent's size. Sometimes in cold regions around the world, more snow falls than can be melted in the summer. The snow piles up and packs down into ice as it gets deeper. When the ice is about 18 meters or 60 feet thick, it begins to move across the land. Flowing ice is called a glacier. Glaciers are rivers of ice that gravity moves downhill. Scientists keep track of how far glaciers move. An average glacier advances less than 1 meter or 3.3 feet each day. Glaciers in ice and Alaska have been recorded at speeds of more than 100 meters or 330 feet per day. Glaciers now cover almost 10% of the Earth. They are found in all the major mountain ranges. They exist on every continent except Australia. All the glaciers in the world store about 75% of the world's fresh water. If they melted, sea level would rise about 79 meters or 260 feet. Sometimes snow and ice form where you wouldn't expect them. In 1848, 2 Germans brought a story home from Africa. They reported seeing a snow-covered mountain near the equator. At first, no one believed them. Wasn't every place at the equator too warm for snow? The Germans had seen Kilimanjaro, the tallest mountain in Africa. It rises to 5,895 meters or 19,340 feet. All year long, Kilimanjaro is capped with ice. That's because temperature decreases with altitude. The higher you travel, the colder the air becomes. Snow and ice can exist anywhere temperatures are low enough, even at the equator. All right, so where do icebergs come from? Are icebergs made of fresh water or salt water? Icebergs are drifting islands of ice. They may look white, green, or blue. They're found in the ocean, but are not made of salt water. Icebergs are frozen fresh water. Have you ever wondered where they come from? Icebergs were once part of glaciers. When a glacier reaches the sea, pieces at the end break off. These chunks of ice may be small as a meter or many kilometers long. The largest ever measured was 320 kilometers or 200 miles long and 96 kilometers or 60 miles wide. We see only a small part of an iceberg. 7/8 is hidden beneath the water's surface. Icebergs in the North Atlantic last up to 2 years before melting, depending on their size. Icebergs in the Antarctic are often much larger, and they may last up to 10 years. During World War II, 1939 to 1945, the Allies considered using an iceberg as an airfield. Some years later, one iceberg in the Arctic Ocean was put to use. Fletcher's Ice Island was set up as a research station in March of 1952. It was used several times in the 1950s and 1960s. Someday, icebergs may be a useful source of fresh water. Ice could be harvested and melted. Whole icebergs might even be towed to countries needing fresh water. Wow, isn't that fascinating? Okay, so now, friends, what I need for you to do is to open your water student booklet to page 45. Okay, page 45 in your water student booklet. Now, we're going to find these answers directly from the passage. Okay, and in doing that, I am going to kind of help guide you along, and then you're going to do some on your own as well. Okay, so I have a pen. It'd be preferable if you would use a pencil. Okay, all right, so at what temperature does water change from liquid to solid? Well, it's in the very first paragraph here. It says water changes from liquid to solid at 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm going to put 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay? When we look at temperature here in the United States, we usually determine it in Fahrenheit. Okay? And we know that that's very cold, but not quite as cold as it could be. All right, question number 2. Temperatures up to blank or blank, water becomes ice. Okay? If temperatures drop to blank or blank, okay, so we're going to fill that in, 0 degrees Celsius or lower, water becomes ice. Okay, question number 3. What 3 northern areas have seasonal snow? Okay, let's see here. In many areas, temperatures change with the seasons and winter brings snow. In the United States, northern areas such as New York, Illinois, and North Dakota. Okay, so all the spellings are right there. New York, Illinois, and North Dakota. So I'm going to say New York. Number 2, Illinois. And number 3, North Dakota. Okay, and again, that came right from here. Okay, right from here. Question number 4, how much snow may Syracuse, New York get in one season? All right, places such as Syracuse, New York may have blank, blank of snow a year. There it is, right there. Found it in the passage. 2.8 meters, 9.2 feet. Okay? All right. Question number 5. What areas in the north have ice year-round? In the north, some places are cold all year long. In the north, parts of Alaska, Greenland, Iceland, and Canada have ice year-round. So there it is, right there. Alaska, Greenland, Iceland, and Canada. Alaska, Greenland, Iceland, and Canada. Okay. Number 6, which is the coldest continent? Well, let's see here. Is it in here? It should be in here. Here we go. But Antarctica, covering the South Pole, is the coldest continent. Antarctica. How much of its land lies under ice? There it goes right here. More than, 95% of its land lies under ice. That's a lot. Question 8. When ice is about 18 meters thick. It begins to move across the land. The flowing ice is called a, okay, it's got to be somewhere in here. Oh, 18 meters thick. It begins to move across the land. Flowing ice is called a glacier. Glacier. And again, right there, right there, right there. So you should be able to spell that correctly. Glaciers exist on every continent except for, let's see. Glaciers now cover almost 10%. They are found in all the major mountain ranges. They exist on every continent except, you should be able to see it right there. Yes, Australia. So except Australia. Okay, except Australia. How much fresh water is stored in the glaciers of the world? All glaciers in the world store about 75% of the world's fresh water. So we're going to say 75%. Okay, and there are our answers for 1 to 10. Okay, so you need to flip your paper over. Yes, there's a few more questions on the back. Number 11 is saying the tallest mountain in Africa is. Okay, so that's going to be down here toward the end of our passage. And let's see here, keeping down. They report seeing snow near the equator. The Germans had seen Kilimanjaro, the tallest mountain in Africa. So the tallest mountain in Africa is Kilimanjaro. And it raises blank. I think that should say it rises. Yeah, I think that should say it rises. R-I-S-E-S, and it rises 19,340 feet. Wow, that is ginormous. It is covered blank with capped ice. Okay, all year long, Kilimanjaro is capped ice. Okay, so all year long, right? It is covered all year long with capped ice. All year long. All right. Number 12, the reason why this happens is because blank decreases with blank. All right, so that's because temperature decreases with altitude. Temperature or altitude. Temperature decreases with altitude. And that's one of your vocabulary words, so you should know what that means. All right, so now we have come up to question 13. And you guessed it, my friends. This is going to be the you do part. Question 13. Why do you think mountains at the equator and other places that usually don't get snow or ice have ice caps? Use information from the reading to support your reasoning. So you're going to go back into the passage. I went through all those other questions, and this is the only one you need to do on your own. But you'll notice there is quite a bit of space for you to write. That's because you really need to explain your thinking, okay? And friends, there is no question 14. So this is the last question. I'm going to give you some time to go ahead and respond to that. And then if you want to go ahead, you can either open a Google Doc and send your response that way, or you could take a picture and send it to your teacher, assuming you're remote. If you're in person, then you need to raise your hand so that your teacher can come and see that you've responded to the question. All right, see you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.